Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall. You may call me Dr. Kennard. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show, where we talk words. We speak the words. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not, but they're always to the left, and we're always taking. Well, what did Billy Butcher from that show on Amazon Prime, right? The guys. What did he say? We're taking a hacksaw to the right, we're taking a hacksaw to the fascists, we're taking a buzzsaw to the fascists, something like that. What's the first story we're talking about? We're talking about the sad story of another anti-vaxxer not being with us. Link in the description below. Dr. Abilo Ramos, MD, 62, from Moorpark, California, family practitioner, unvaxxed and dead from COVID-19. His wife is actually going to be playing a pretty prominent role in this story. He's not only an anti-vaxxer, but he was proudly administering, what was that name of the horse dewormer? Ivermectin. That's right. He was administering ivermectin to his patients, and somehow this unvaxxed doctor is no longer with us. But what about his wife? His wife was somewhat of an internet star, because Donald J. Trump retweeted her and supported her. And this is something from Dr. Don Michael about her husband, who's no longer with us. It says something about her husband. My husband was the only doctor in town providing preventative care for COVID. He worked with a small compound pharmacy to get ivermectin. He kept hundreds of his patients out of the ICU. Only 9 ended up in the hospital, and all came home because he managed their care 24/7. So many things wrong with those statements. You'll notice the thing, and we're going to be covering Donald J. Trump's litany of lies later on in the show, everyone. But this is the thing about the right, is that they love spewing out what they consider to be facts, but are just thinly veiled lies, or just prime examples how they don't understand how words work or how logic works. And here's her Twitter profile, by the way. Here's her best come hither. I'm just going to say this, swipe left kind of. That's my cat in the background. I don't know if you can hear Biscuit, everyone. So yes, she is a sex counselor. She's a wife, mother, author, clinical sexologist, as against to an experimental sexologist, I guess. Content creator. Views are my own, and proudly, this is all you need to know about her, actually, proudly retweeted by President Trump. If you look to the link in the description below about this piece, is that she got her PhD from what's that word? What's that term? A degree mill. That's right. Where they just pretty much have someone in the back cranking out PhDs. So she got her PhD at a degree mill. And unsurprisingly, Donald J. Trump really liked what she had to say. Oh, here's something about her. The people are happy with President Trump, and they see how poorly he is being treated. We're going to see exactly what. And then once again, this is the gentleman's wife who has passed. She is his wife. He is the ivermectin prescribing doctor, while she is the loudmouth supporting him on social media. Man, this is from 2000. This tweet this update has not really aged well for her. In time, it will be revealed that COVID-19 was the greatest illusion in history. I don't think, not something that has aged well. And here's something about her husband when he passed. My husband, Abilo Ramos, MD, passed away on January 9th after being taken to the ICU on the 28th at Los Alamos Hospital in Thousand Oaks, California. When he got there, he described it as a war zone, sitting for hours before finding him a bed in the ICU. I will not be able to be with him. If you look at some of her other tweets, she is angry at the fact that she wasn't able to see him, that it was a war zone. Why was it a war zone? Why were there so many beds already filled up? Could it be because there were so many people who were unvaccinated who had COVID-19 jamming up the hospital? Yes, people like him are the problem. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. As many of you know, we're streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on Twitter, we're streaming on the Atheist Comedy Burrito Facebook group. Good morning, everyone. If you want to join us, you're going to see that I'm interacting with the chat. You're going to have to come over to YouTube for that, right? To the Laughing and Disbelief YouTube channel. And of course, this show runs until 9:25, and then we do an open room for all intents and purposes for Democrats, atheists, progressives, humanists. And if you want to be on the panel, the link is in the description below. I'm going to check out the chat and see how everyone's doing. Degree Mill. Yes, it's hard to believe that Dr. Dawn Michael got her PhD in sexology, clinical sexology. And I'm sure that there are real degrees out there in clinical sexology. I don't want to be crapping on the whole field. But she did not get herself her PhD from a legitimate accredited school. Good morning, Derek Cruz. Hope you're doing well this morning. Well, that's it. BigZebra.com. Oh no, a doctor to die of a medical illusion. And he was a family practitioner too, everyone. Her husband was a family practitioner. So he was seeing kids. He was seeing the elderly probably. He was seeing people who could not deal that well with COVID-19. And yet he was probably, right? He was probably spreading it. John Christian, glad to see that you're here this morning. I hope everyone else is doing well. We had our pipes frozen over the weekend here. Yeah, right. I woke up one morning and the water wouldn't run. We had to get a hair dryer. We got to get a heating pad. I had to call my buddy who's a contractor to find out what's going on. It was a whole thing. But now we have water. We had to do some emergency care onto the pipes, but they eventually became unfrozen. Didn't burst. That was a little bit of drama over here. Good morning, Eden's Aquaponics. I hope you're doing okay. And yeah, I did write this little bit about a little satirical piece about Lauren Boebert and her primary challenger. Big Zebra liked it. So, hey, who else is here in the chat? All right. Theo, always glad to see the Theo. Theoretically is here. Yeah. All right. You want to do the next story? Let's do the next story. I'm going to do a little fact checking here on Donald J. Trump's liars and the liars who lie. I guess we could have just called this entire article, this piece here, liars, the liars that lie repeatedly. Trump's COVID and election falsehoods at the Arizona rally that, of course, he held on Saturday. You know, I was on a show. I was a guest on a show. I don't know if I'm going to ever be invited back. I was on a show just on Saturday. And it turned out we were supposed to be talking about joke thieves. There's supposed to be a simple freaking show about comedians who steal jokes. But it turned out that there was a MAGA-loving person on the panel, and he couldn't hold it together. We were talking about jokes, and then about 40 minutes in, he decided to derail the conversation with his crazy thoughts. Was there shouting? Was there laughing? Was I mocking him at certain points? Yeah. But I'll post that link to that conversation whenever it gets posted. That was on Rob Stanley's show, by the way, The Right to Reason. Okay, let's get back to this story. So what Trump said, I'm sure you've all heard this already, or most of you have. The left is now rationing life-saving therapeutics based on race, discriminating against and denigrating white people to determine who lives and who dies. If you're white, you don't get the vaccine, or if you're white, you don't get therapeutics. Well, you know, what's interesting about that is that's all lies. As many of you know, my girlfriend had COVID, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point. And she got the monoclonal antibodies. I've gotten the vaccine. I happen to be white. I had to do a double check on this. I've gotten the vaccine. And this is for those of us who remember the death panels from the Republicans talking about Obamacare, the the Affordable Health Care Act. This is just typical of them, putting a dog whistle, making it a racial issue to scare their base into voting for them. Because this is all the Republicans have. This is all the Republicans have. They don't have policies, and so they do these racist dog whistles that get their base all jazzed up. Link to the story in the description below too, everyone. There is no evidence that white Americans are being denied access to vaccines or treatments. Trump referred to a Wall Street Journal opinion column. It's an opinion column. It's, you can write anything in an opinion column, everyone, right? The thing is, most Americans do not know the difference between an opinion piece and news. And that's sad. That's a reflection on our education system. Trump referred to a Wall Street Journal opinion column criticizing New York State's guidelines on 2 limited antiviral treatments that ask health providers to prioritize the therapies for immunocompromised patients and those with risk factors. The guidelines, which were released in late December, said non-white race or Hispanic Latino ethnicity should be considered a risk factor as long-standing systemic health and social inequities have contributed to an increased risk of severe illness and death from COVID-19. Story goes on. State officials have defended their guidelines by citing data from the CDC, which show that Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans are about twice as likely to die from COVID-19 than white people. A spokesperson for New York State's Department of Health told Fox News that race did not disqualify patients from treatment, but that the guidelines instead considered race as one risk factor. In New York, white residents are more likely to be vaccinated than Black residents, which is in line with most of the country. So here's how Donald J. Trump, doing a classic Republican trick and a classic KGB, Russian Secret Service trick of taking a little piece of information and spinning it in a way that demonizes one group and getting their supporters energized. This is another Trump lie. Why did Nancy Pelosi and the Capitol Police reject the more than 10,000 National Guard troops or soldiers that I authorized to help control the enormous crowd that I knew was coming? Another falsehood, of course. There's no evidence that Trump ever made a request for 10,000 National Guard troops or that House Nancy Pelosi rejected such a demand. The Speaker of the House does not control the National Guard. Maybe that's what the executive branch does, right? The commander-in-chief isn't the president the commander-in-chief? Oh, okay. So let's go. Trump said, this is a classic Trumpism about the big lie about the election. What Trump said, so we lost, they say, by 10,000. Yet they flagged more. Listen to these numbers, everyone. 57,000 highly suspicious ballots for further investigation. 23,344. Oh, man, I can't. 23 mail-in ballots were counted despite the person no longer living in that address. Little problem. 5,000 people appear to have voted in more than one county. False. Trump lost the state of Arizona by 10,500 votes, but his claim of tens of thousands of fraudulent votes are baseless. These figures are based on a report by Cyber Ninjas, a company Republicans hired to examine voting in the state. Moreover, Cyber Ninja's audit showed that those in Maricopa County, which includes Phoenix, Biden had 99 additional votes, and Trump had 261 fewer votes. But, we could talk numbers, we could talk data, we could talk peer-reviewed studies until we're blue in the face. And somehow, amongst the MAGA cultists, it wouldn't push the needle one way or the other, everyone. I'm going to check out the comments before going to the halftime tummy rub show. Checking out the comments, seeing how everyone's doing this morning. All right. So, well, John Christian, you're spot on with that. When I read that, I was furious. These dog whistles are dangerous. This is correct. The dog whistles by the Republicans erode the basic tenet of American democracy, right? They basically drive a wedge between us. The Republicans always like to say, blame the Democrats, that we're the ones driving wedges between people, but it is they, the Republicans, who've been doing these dog whistles for decades. Checking out who else is saying. Simply Secular Dave from the West Coast of Canada. Fox News, indeed. Faux news. And Sean says, be careful. That's all science. The MAGA people can't deal with that. They're like the opening scene with a monolith at the beginning of Space Odyssey. I see what you did there, Sean Alexander. I was watching this video on fascism, and they were talking about that mustache guy in Germany during the 30s and 40s. And the reason why I'm not using his name is because, once again, I'm still under the cloud of maybe getting a Twitter, I'm sorry, which social media platform I'm in danger of getting banned on, but on YouTube. So have to be careful. But one of the elements of fascism, of course, is that fascists only like the science that they can use to complete their fascist goals. Anything that goes contradictory to their ideology, they discard and demonize. Wow, that sounds like religion. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like some fundamentalist form of religion there. All right. You want to do the halftime tummy rub show? This is when we take a breather, relax a little bit, because, we don't do ads here. Everything's funded by you folks, by patrons, by YouTube members, by Super Chats, Venmo, PayPal. And this is when I should be asking you to hit the like button, too, and to subscribe if you haven't. On that note, let's take a look at a cat having the time of its life. Or, this is an interesting video. Take a look.
911, what's your emergency?
Hello? I stepped on tape and I tried to flick it off, but it didn't work, and now I don't think I'll ever be able to walk again. The vacuum! It's gonna get... The Amazon guy is here. He's right outside our front door. What do I do? My sister's being a... Oh, I lost my toy underneath this ottoman dealy thing. What the is this thing? My sister got stuck in the Ritz crackers box. Again. I can see the bottom of my food dish. Somebody help.
Well, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, everyone, this story should. This is about Mike Lindell, fascist, pillow fascist. I don't know what he's training for. Maybe he's getting ready for a karate chop. Maybe this is him not really understanding the self-checkout line and raging about it. That's a super shop. I don't know. But Mike Lindell always seems to have this look on his face that is somewhere between angry, ignorant, confused, and he's about to say something crazy. This is the classic Mike Lindell that we've come to know and love. And yes, everyone, this is the last story for the show, and this is going to be something that makes you feel good inside. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell says he's disgusted with two banks he claims are cutting ties with him over cancel culture after his phone records were subpoenaed by the January 6th committee. It just seems that a lot of Republicans complain about cancel culture when people are just sick of their crap, right? They're just sick of having to deal with them and the crazy, right? I mean, I imagine this guy's barber is sick and tired of him, right? Anyone who has interactions with Mike Lindell must be somewhat sick and tired of Mike Lindell. Let's take a look at the story. Mike Lindell, the founder and CEO of MyPillow, told Insider on Friday that he's been told by two financial institutions to leave their bank. Lindell said Minnesota Bank and Trust and Heartland Financial USA told him they no longer wanted to do business with him. Single tier, everyone. Single tier. Lindell is one of the most vocal supporters of former President Donald Trump. He recently told Insider he's already spent $25 million pushing Trump's baseless voter fraud claims. Earlier this month, the January 6th House Committee subpoenaed the Pillow CEO's phone records over his ties to the former president. Let's face it, banks are a business. They're not a charity. They don't want to be associated with someone who could be dirty. And let's check out the next panel. According to Lindell, this raised concerns at Minnesota Bank and Trust. But what if somebody came in and said, you know what, we're going to subpoena all of his account records and this and that, and we make the news? A man Lindell identified as Tom Cardle, a senior vice president at Minnesota Bank and Trust, said in recordings obtained by Insider. Cardle also referred to the bank's continued relationship with Lindell as a reputation risk. Cardle didn't respond to Insider's multiple attempts for comment on whether he was in the recordings. However, Insider independently verified that the phone number was linked to an office line associated with Cardle. Who would think that this man would be a reputation risk? The man who is carrying basically a folder full of why Donald Trump should do a military coup. What was that, on January 15th? I think it was on January 15th. Remember, Lindell was photographed, was filmed having a folder basically full of, hey, this is why you should do. Because, in the United States of America, for those of you who don't know this, the president of the United States can declare martial law for 6 months, harkening back to Roman times, harkening back to Greek city-states where they could, elect a dictator and run by fiat. The Pillow executive said he does not intend to comply with the bank's entreaties for him to close the accounts. I'm not closing my accounts. They're going to have to throw me out, Lindell told Insider, adding that he thought banks were taking actions because of cancel culture. They are just sick. They decided they were going to swipe left on Mike Lindell, and that's probably a wise choice. Checking out the chat before we start closing out this crazy show. Cryptameria's here. Wild Eden's here. Everyone's here this morning. Glad to see everyone here. Oh, here we go. Where is the evidence, Mike? How many promises can this guy break? And why? Yeah. Let's see. Seeing how else everyone's doing in the chat. This Monday morning, we're supposed to be getting a lot of snow, at least up in upper state, up in New England, up north. Down here, it's just all raining crappy. Hey, the girlfriend's here. Let's see the girlfriend here. Okay. I think we covered everything. I think I covered up all the chat. Covered up? No, I covered all the chat. I think I saw what everyone had to say. Hey, we're doing the show. The next show is an open room where I talk a lot less, and maybe you'll be happy with that. I don't know. But there'll be other people speaking words. I'm going to throw another cat video down, and then the new and improved thank you video to YouTube members and patrons.
Did you just do that by himself?
Yep.
It's a cat on a skateboard. It's a cat on a skateboard. Wow. I don't know if my cat would do that. Well, I'm still on the screen. I was looking at the new thank you video and then looking at the comments. And usually, okay, I'll see everyone later in 5 minutes, hopefully, for the after party after show. Take care, everyone.